In today's day, 2026, there are a lot of lonely people who retire. And you know what? In spite of having money, in spite of having everything which is luxurious and awesome with them, they still feel the trap of loneliness. Do you want to know the reason? Money can fill your pockets, but it cannot fill your purpose in life, especially after your retirement. Hi, this is Anirudh Bellare here. Welcome to the 45th video of Your Best Financial Life series. As I mentioned in this video, you will be learning that retirement, usually happiness is missing. And this is not any happiness video, it is financial related, human related emotions blended for you in this video. And you will be knowing how you can actually define your best retirement life if you can structure it on from a comparatively starting point before you actually start your retirement phase. So let's move on to the first and most important point. See, the first and most important point is define your happiness. See, it's very easy for me to write all these, for you. Define your, just writing you are over here, happiness. Now you would have seen a lot of flashy headlights. What do I mean by headlights? Not car headlights, I mean the headlines of many newspapers or wherever through social media. That usually what happens, there are a lot of people who tell if you have 5 crore or 10 crore as your retirement corpus, sometimes even I do, pardon me for that. If you have 5 crore or 10 crore for your retirement corpus, you will be eventually happy in your life. But do you know what is the true definition of understanding what will make you happy in this retirement life of yours? It is going to be asking yourself the right questions. Now, what will define your happiness over here? The first thing, how much you and your spouse actually use your financial wealth in that particular month. I'm not mentioning about wealth over here. How much amount of money do you use in any particular month? So your first point over here, bifurcation, comes down to your money used in 1 month. In 1 month. Now, for different people, the retirement amount could be different depending on business or salary or whatever sources of income you have made during your past life. But there is one unsaid factor over here. You want to know that unsaid factor? This video could be about your finances and retirement, but something which is more important than this, which is also an important part, is going to be your people whom you associate with. See, a lot of times success is related to money, and I truly believe that as well. But in later stages of your life and in your earlier stages of life, now try imagining you are currently, just imagine, I just want you to imagine that you are currently 8 years old. And someday you're going to be 80 years old. Now there is a huge lot of difference over here. 8 years to 80 years. Now see, this depends from people to people, but what I have understood here is, when you are 8 years old, the only thing important for you as a child were people and memories. Now see, every child is unique and different. But if you ask me personally, I personally feel there are a lot of people whom in their young childhood days, they would enjoy a lot. Enjoy as in play games or like running games or whatever games. physical activity games, whereby the child feels a sense of love in the form of friendship at a very young age. Slowly, what happens when you enter your 18 plus years, which is after your teenage, that's when your college life starts, then your work life starts, or your business life. It's pretty obvious, everybody is going to get busy in their life. And then eventually the cycle comes back to your 80-year-old, whereby you might be having that retirement amount for your life. But if you have not kept that bond of friendship, your bond of friendship, it will eventually start making you feel lonely by heart. That is why it is important to also invest in friendships. Now, see, relationships is a different aspect. When it is about friendship, it is going to be a completely different aspect, because there are a lot of factors. There are sometimes friends who associate with you only on a basis of transactional level, that what can this particular person get from him or her. This is your transactional basis. And friendships out of love, whether it is your chosen school friends, college friends, and you know how to maintain that touch over, say example, a social media app or whatever, or call once in a while. See, how can this relate to your finances? See, when you actually are going through a bad phase, it is going to be your family who is going to help you. But if you have those friends who have become family, even in your tough time, they will eventually stand by you. And that is the real game of wealth, which can be earned with time and efforts. Money can also be earned with time and efforts, but making these friendships will happen over a long period of time. And it's similar to your money related factor as well. That is why defining your happiness becomes important. See, this could be true for X number of people, Y number of people, and so. But your happiness defines and lies in your hands. You need to understand what will give you happiness in that particular age. It's always good to think about, right? Because you may not know what is currently making you happy and what could actually make you happy in the future. If you ask me, if I'm a granddad at the age of 80 years old, what is going to make me happy is whatever amount I can take from my systematic withdrawal plan, which is a way whereby a corpus chunk of money keeps getting credited into my bank account, and I ensure that I meet my friends on a regular basis. I ensure I spend maximum time with my friends and families, because you never know. Life is very short. That is why investing in the right people is so important, just as investing in with the right mindset for your future financial growth. That is why defining your happiness is very, very important. So let's move on to the next point. Now see, your next point, when I say it is related to your financial retirement, that's where this concept comes. Just a second. You're getting the right advisor. Now, what is the meaning of right advisor? Now, what do I mean by this? As I've kept on mentioning in my previous videos as well, right advisor is nothing but somebody who understands your personal life scenario. See, your life scenario and my life scenario are like completely different over here. Maybe the likings of yours is not the liking of mine. The same thing when it comes to your finances over here. If you have a friend who is a SEBI registered CFA or CA or whatever. Now these are professional degrees, like as I mentioned, chartered accountancy or CFA, which is your financial accountancy, if I'm not wrong. I'm sorry if I made a mistake. Yeah, so if you have people who are friends, they can eventually give you the right advice whereby you will be understanding in that particular age what are the type of investment assets which could be useful so that you can earn that particular return, or you can get that amount credited into your bank because of your past investments, and how do you move on in the future with your investments. That's why your right advisory and right advisor becomes very key and essential. Let's move on to the next point. See, your next point is going to be DET. Now, what is DET? This is not the typical loan word which I keep using in my videos. This is something called diversify, less expensive, and trust. Now, what do I mean by these three terms over here? As I mentioned in my previous point, which is finding the right advisor. After you find the right advisor, the most important thing you can do is have faith, have trust, diversify your investments. Why? Because see, at that particular age, you obviously know you cannot take so much risk as you used to take when you were in your early 20s or early 30s. Why? Because you don't know how much more you're going to live. With whatever money you have, you ensure that you can diversify and also ensure that you enjoy that money, because you have earned that money, my friend. If you enjoy it in the present, it is equally important for you to enjoy that money in your future as well, because it is your time and effort which has given you that. And that is why the DET step, whether it's diversify, buy at less expensive. Now, as example, if somebody who is a senior citizen who's watching this video, I mean, more or less, this is a very good time for you to invest. This is not an advice, but if someone would ask me, I would tell this, because it's pretty obvious when there is a lot of uncertainty going on in global scenarios, it is a good time whereby you can accumulate units at a low cost when it comes to investments. And that's why I said buy at less expensive and you have trust. Now, how can you maintain this trust with your financial advisor? It's pretty obvious. It's all about faith and the time which you have invested with that person over long number of years. If at all you find a new person who is a very good person for your financial advisory, then well and good, trust will come with time. You will understand, because results is what speaks. So let's move on to the next point. And also remember, this is not something just for telling. You actually make sure that it happens with you, because it's you who's going to use that money for your best financial life. Let's move on to the next point. See, there's something called setting realistic expectations. Real expectations and your purpose, as I mentioned in the start of the video. Now, what is this real expectations and purpose? See, real expectations is nothing but when you go for any financial advisory or whatever, you don't go with an expectation that you need at least 20 or 25% yearly from investing in the markets, because understand, as the GDP of the country grows, that's how your investment is going to grow. Even if you get around 11 to 12% to maximum 15% for any of your investments is considered very good and decent, which is what you want. You need something which eventually beats the inflation, and that's what is eventually wanted. So your expectation should be according to the country's growth. Now, it solely depends on which country you live, but this is what I have a say in this, in terms of whatever I explained right now. And then, see, retirement is not about being at home and not doing anything. See, for the human brain to actually sustain and live, it needs to be busy in some or the other activity. If you ask me, given me, taking me as an example over here right now, I had taken a drop year for like around 5 to 6 months. In that, I did not allocate my time properly to maybe say studying or to doing various activities. As a result, what happened? It created a type of fed upness in my mind. Now, what is this word fed up? That you get irritated that you don't have any work to do. As a result, what happens? It leads to a lot of frustration. That frustration could lead to a lot of problems. And that is why I say, finding your purpose. Now, how will you do it? By actually asking your inner voice. Now, how do you ask your inner voice? Through meditations, by maintaining peace, silence, and see, if you're connected spiritually, it will eventually come to you. And if you know what is your purpose, whether it be charity to a lot of people, whether it be teaching, maybe YouTube video or whatever, it will eventually help and help in a lot way, whereby you can give back to the society whatever years you have taken to actually work and earn some portion of it. Once you have sustained your life, you give back to the society, is a all great happiness feeling. And also when it comes to financial choices, as I mentioned in my previous video, this video as well, you need to understand what type of investments you require. So you go with the actual question list, whereby, see, whether you ask Google or whatever, you go with a question list whereby you understand what type of investments you actually require depending on your current financial situation and your age, which becomes extremely important in the moment. I hope you got a lot of value from this video. See, there might have been some points which you may not have related with. I'm really sorry about it. But please do understand, this is a way from my side to give back to the society or to whoever is watching this video, because I feel that this is the best thing I can do as service. And if you did like this video, you can do share it to a lot of friends of yours, because I feel there are a lot of people who actually require this type of financial education, whereby at least they start taking small steps to ensure that their investment life grows from a young age onwards, not necessarily from an old age onwards. That's why I say from a young age onwards. Thank you so much for investing your precious time in this video, and it really means a lot from my bottom of my heart. Thank you so much once again.